Good evening for you, Roxy Soxy, and good mid-afternoon for me.
I know. This is like the craziest time I think we've ever, like, the most juxtaposed time that we've done so far.
I know. And we were actually going to just have to replay an old episode because my movie has not let me be able to talk to you at a reasonable hour because we've been on set from like 5 a.m. till like 5 p.m. and then 5 p.m. is your midnight. So we haven't been able to really figure out a time to do this.
I know. I'm so glad we made it happen, though. You know,
it's we did last minute.
Where there's a will, there's a way, as they say.
I know. Just like leaving it down to the wire. But oh my God, there's been so much going on. It's funny because you were like, "Hey, let's chat like before the podcast," and I was like, "No, let's find out everything that's been going on with each other during this show."
Yes, this is a good plan. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, girl. I know it's been too long. I feel like I haven't seen you. And
I know. And we always spend so much time together. So, but you know what? It'll be this show, the movie's done in 3 days. And so it'll be, you know me, I'll be like, I wish I was back on set. You can't win it's just, you always, for me, it's like, maybe it's a chronic dissatisfaction. I'm always like wanting to be in a different place than I'm actually in. So I just have to just appreciate the moment. No, there's 3 days left. Feel super lucky about the situation that I've been in. And then just, go spend some time with the family.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good plan. Now, have you had any good sex scenes?
It's not that type of movie, Roxy. But I've been watching the show Sex Life, if that makes a difference.
Yes.
No, but we did have a kissing scene. I did have a kissing scene last Wednesday.
Okay.
And it was interesting because we had to discuss obviously there's no tongues for this, because in some scenes there are, obviously, I have to move my head to the right, he has to move his head to the left. The director even said, you have to kiss for 3 beats, like 1 kiss, open your mouth, 2 kisses, open your mouth, 3 kiss, and then look at each other and then go back in for a 1 kiss, open your mouth. So you're opening your mouth, pretending you're kissing, but obviously there's nothing else going on. So, and my husband's I'm like, oh, I'm kissing today. And he's like, okay. He's just so, it's part of the job. It's just it just is a weird occupation, I think.
No, is your director male or female?
Female.
Okay, good. So it must be nice to kind of get notes, especially on an intimate kissing scene and stuff from a female director, right?
I think so. And I also, there is very small % of female directors who are actually given an opportunity to direct. Mm-hmm. And so it's just really nice to have the ship run by a female. And it does feel different. Mm-hmm. I've been directed a lot by males in my career, and it feels there's a different tact that a female takes when they're kind of spearheading the entire team. And there's a gentleness to it, and there's a fluidity, and there's a compromise element. I'm not saying that men don't do that, but I'm just saying it does feel a little bit more of a gentler experience. Let's put it that way. But yet she still has the bull by the horns. She's still again, steering the ship. She still has, she knows what she wants, and she'll keep going until she gets it. It doesn't seem to be any aggression that comes through.
Oh, that's nice. Makes for a good vibe on set, right? I mean, it's
definitely.
It's really comfortable, I would imagine.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, what hasn't been comfortable, and you've probably watched my stories, is I'm having severe sleep issues. And I wanted to ask you about it because I've never had sleep issues before. Definitely not like this.
Oh my God, Tammin, now you're in the club, and now you know that it is not fun, and you are fucking exhausted the next day. And it's so frustrating because your body is so tired, and it's you just your body wants to go to sleep, but your brain and you cannot fall asleep, and you can't stay asleep too is the problem. So it's if you do fall asleep for an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, you cannot stay asleep. And I feel it's so weird because I think we've been awake at the same time, looking on Instagram, because it's we're both in this weird place where sleep is not coming easy,
I mean, I would say that my gut says that 99% of this is anxiety because I'm working, because on Friday and Saturday I slept 8 hours straight. Slept 8 hours, didn't wake up at all. But then when I'm working, I literally just, I fall asleep and then I'll wake up after an hour, and then I'll be up from like 1 to 4, and I'll have to be up, I have to be on set at 5. So there's some days that I've had 2 hours sleep, like 2 hours, and then had a 16-hour, 14-hour day, whatever it is. And, you know, at some point I feel like my brain is just like not doing what it wants to do. It's just, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, no, it's very frustrating. And if you take, like, have you been taking like the melatonin or like the, like the
Well, I
sleeping
ended up taking like a
aids?
quarter of like a Xanax. I haven't taken a quarter of a Xanax, and I'm so ridiculous because like I really don't, you know me, I don't like pharmaceutical drugs. I'm not into drugs at all. I just like, it's just, I'm very much into clean living, and I was just so anxious about it. And I've always had like, you know, an old bottle of Xanax for, you know, years. I don't even know if it's probably expired, and they're 0.5, right? So I think you can get up to like 4 milligrams. So then 0.5, and I break the 0.5, so it's 0.2, and then I break the 0.2. So I'm having like a quarter of a Xanax, but I think it's helping because I do fall asleep, but maybe it's not helping. And then I'm Googling like, will I have withdrawals if I take like a quarter of a Xanax for 4 days straight? Because I don't like that kind of, for me. I mean, yes, it helps certain people, but for me, I don't want to be addicted to it at all. You know?
Yeah. Does it make you like loopy the next day? Because sometimes I feel like it's a little bit like you're a little groggy almost, you know?
Yeah, I don't think the Xanax is, because honestly, I feel like I'm taking like, I'm licking it almost. I'm like, oh, it's a Xanax. I think it's, so I'm taking 5 milligrams of melatonin, which apparently is a lot, but I mean, it's working. Like I can feel that drowsiness, which is so great. Yesterday I took it at 9. So I felt really super drowsy. And then what sucks about that is like 2 hours later, I was awake. Then I was awake for 5 hours, and then I was on set an hour later.
Oh, and it's like that anxiety. It's you're
I'm
just
sweating.
Like, oh, sweating at night?
Yeah. I know everyone's like, oh, it's like some kind of hormonal thing. And I'm like, it's not though, because when I didn't have to work, I had no sweats and I slept 8 hours.
That's so weird though. What do you think the sweating
It's
is coming from?
anxiety. I think it's anxiety.
It's anxiety. Okay, so we're not talking like perimenopause here yet or anything, correct?
I honestly think it'd be impossible. I mean, like I honestly think even perimenopause, I'd be 10 years too early.
Yeah,
I mean, like it would be like a 1 in a, and it would also have to correlate with the fact that I just started a film. Like, you know what I mean? It would just, it would just be too many things happening at the same time. It just doesn't make sense. Like I was sleeping great, sleeping wonderfully in quarantine, like 8 hours, I literally would fall asleep on one side of the bed and wake up exactly in the same position 8 hours later. I'm an amazing sleeper. Then the minute I started this film, I started to stop sleeping.
Oh, so like as soon as it wraps, like on Friday or whatever, you're going to be like,
I would be shocked if I don't go back to sleeping well again.
Oh, sleep is so elusive too when it's like in that, like this, like you're just like, if there's one thing I can get, like, please let it be good sleep. You know, you just need that like solid, even if it's not like 8 full hours, like if you can have a solid like 5 or 6 hours where you actually like sleep without waking up. And that's like,
but that was me all the time. I was like 6 to 8 hours without waking once.
Oh God, it sucks.
So when did yours start?
So mine started, I want to say mine have started in the last like couple years, probably.
Right.
And for me, it started, I think, with anxiety too. Like I was like, oh, I started getting those weird, because you know how like you and I text and we're like going to sleep and it's like, oh my God, am I going to die tonight? Like, it's like that.
Yeah, I was crazy. Like, will melatonin and a quarter of a 0.2 Xanax split in 4 pieces and 5 milligrams of melatonin. I was being very specific with Google. I was like, will that kill me in the middle of the night? So I was like, well, the reactions, if you take some, like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
I'm going to die. I love it. No, I think for me, like, definitely started with anxiety. And I think just like you know what really helped me though, that has helped me, I've noticed, was therapy. Like doing the therapy and being able to unload a little bit and like talk about things. I feel like that helped. But then also when we just took a trip like a couple weeks ago to Miami, I think I like relaxed a little bit, even though there was like work stuff involved. I was able to also like relax and like, I felt like, because I get like knots in my stomach, you know, when I'm getting like really tense or like anxiety. So I felt like those knots like go away a little bit, like we're away. And then like when I got back here, I was sleeping well. But then this last, like this will be, okay, the last 3 nights, I've woken up at 3:30 a.m. every night, like on the dot. And I'm like, I think it might be hormonal in the sense that it's part of my cycle. Like,
right. I definitely when I'm ovulating or my period,
yes,
before my period, I can't sleep. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is for me right now. It's like that ovulation period is like coming in, and it's like,
yeah, that's hard,
right? It's hard. But then like I also feel more stressed too on top of it, you know?
Now, does David have issues with sleeping?
No, he sleeps like a baby. I mean, like occasionally he might have like a sleepless night. Yeah. But no, he sleeps like a baby. Like, and you know what is so funny? You know, when we had the girl on the doctor who was the genomics doctor, and she was telling us that if you drink alcohol, it's like instead of, you know, calming you down and sleeping, it's like more of an adrenaline thing.
Right. Absolutely.
And I have definitely noticed that, like with me, but with my husband, it's the opposite. It actually makes him sleep. So I'm like, is it different between men and women?
I think it's different to do with your genes. And I think that was the best thing about her is learning that, you know, every gene is different. And so we aren't all the same. Like what's going to work for you is not always going to work for your husband, is not always going to work for me. And sometimes I'm like, I say to Sean, like, well, try this out first and see if you have a reaction. But he might not obviously have a reaction to something that I might have a reaction to. So we really don't know. And your genes play a massive role. Like a lot of people say CBD is a great way to fall asleep, but I've heard that like for me, anything to do with cannabis is really bad. Like it just doesn't do well for my brain. I get a lot of anxiety. So I know that CBD obviously doesn't have whatever it is, THC in it, which is like the you know, the drug part. But I do know that it's a derivative of cannabis plant. So I'm wondering, does the CBD, is that going to affect me in a negative way?
You know what? I wonder, because the psychotropic stuff is taken out with the THC. So I wonder, I think you might be okay because it's totally like the psychotropic like side effects are
right.
You know, extracted. So it might be good because that actually has helped me too, is CBD, like in conjunction with my melatonin. It's
so you do take melatonin every night?
I take it. Yeah. I've taken it every night pretty much. Yeah.
And do you get foggy in the morning? Do you feel like you have that hangover?
You know what? I used to when I first started taking it, but now I think my body's kind of gotten used to it. So if I get like the full good sleep, I feel really good the next day, like with the melatonin, you know, but like if I wake up in the middle of the night, because sometimes what I've done too is like if I've woken up at like 3 or 4, or maybe not that late, but if it's like more like 2 or like 1:30, like I'll take another melatonin just to like fall back asleep, you know?
Right.
Because I need something, because otherwise I'll literally lay there for hours, you know? So
right.
Then I'm a little more groggy if I take it.
And how many milligrams do you take?
I think I take, let's see, I take a supplement. I think the total of the supplement is 6 milligrams.
So you take a 6 milligram one, and then you take another 6 milligram if you wake up.
If I wake up, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think, you know, they say anywhere from 1 to 5. So
yeah.
But there's obviously up to 10, 20. So it's interesting. Anyway, I'm hoping that I get this sleep stuff on. And I didn't realize how many people have sleep issues until I started talking about it on my Instagram, because I had so many DMs and so many people reach out. I was getting thousands and thousands of people DM me about their sleep issues. And I was like, oh my goodness, I just think it's just, you know, there's so much to stress about these days, and so much anxiety, and so the world is going so fast, and we don't have a way to even check out, you know, or if the way to check out is sometimes alcohol or these things that aren't that helpful when it comes to sleep. And then we're always on our screens, and screens are just really terrible when it comes to having a resting night's sleep. So
that's what I think I fucked myself over last night, because I was on my screen until I fell asleep, and then lo and behold at 3:30, you know, it's like, this just sucks. I know. So I think I'm going to try to implement that rule of like no screen time, like an hour before bed, which is really hard.
Yeah. Well, tell me what else has been going on, Roxy Soxy, since I haven't spoken to you in
Girl,
so long.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. Well, as you know, my husband got COVID like
Yeah, and
a
how has
couple
that
weeks ago.
been?
So I was like really worried about him because I was like, oh God, like obviously we're hearing about this Delta variant and it's awful. And it's like, oh my God, what's happening? So he got it and the first like day he was congested. He kind of had like that
Yeah.
sniffly, nose stuff and like the sore throat. But his congestion went away after like just about day 2. And it was pretty much smooth sailing for him, thankfully. But I think because he had been vaccinated, he had that extra layer of protection. So he didn't end up like running a temperature or anything like that. So I'm, like I was thankful that all panned out well. But, you hear the thing, like I'm watching the news and I'm hearing all this other stuff, and it's like.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the news in so long because of this film. But my question is, like, doesn't he still have to quarantine for specific amount of time because he could be contagious, right? Even if he doesn't have really terrible symptoms?
Yeah. So he's going to stay. I mean, we're not going anywhere or anything. He's
right. And are you worried? Because like the funny thing is when Sean came out of quarantine and he was negative, I was still worried about being around him because I just thought, you still might have that strain in you that could be contagious, even if it says that it's not via the testing. I'm always thinking like, oh my goodness, like could there be something, could there be something that could get me or my kid sick? So it's like it's almost like you're afraid of your own family.
Yes, and I'm still like he's still wearing a mask inside the house. Like he's still wearing a mask, and so that's good. So and he has like he's sleeping in the guest bedroom just to be safe. Like he's like, okay, let's make sure because you never know, like you're saying. But how long after he came out of quarantine were you letting Sean like just?
Well, remember, Sean was so sick that, there was 2 days that we didn't even know if he would make it or not. So we didn't 3 full weeks. And then he tested negative, and we still didn't see him for about 5 days after he tested negative.
Okay.
Just because he was just really still sick, like he was negative. He still was coughing. It's a really confronting experience. And I have a lot of people DM me about vaccinations, and it's like, respectful based on the situations that they've been in, the stories that they've been. The stories that we all experience, and it's through your own lens, right? So for me, it's like you can't say to someone like me and my family, like, don't get vaccinated after I almost saw my husband not make it. Like, of course we would run to that, because for me and my decision, and I stand by this decision, is the effect of the vaccine I felt after seeing what my husband went through was a lot less problematic, or there was going to be a lot less issues than us actually all getting COVID after what I had just seen. So that was my choice, and it was based on what we went through.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was watching a doctor actually on TV who's practicing in like a really highly unvaccinated population in the South. And she said that this has happened to her time and time again, is that these people contract COVID, they come into the hospital, she's sitting with them, and they have to get put on the ventilator, and they're like in tears with her, and they're like, please give us the vaccine now. Like, we'll take it now, and then she just has to look at them and say, yeah, it's too late. Like, it's just too late at that point. And she's like, they don't have an option, and so.
But you also have to look at the other, like, in Australia, there's been a lot of information, misinformation, confusing, conflicting, demands on what they're supposed to do over here with the vaccine. They had this one vaccine in, which is the AstraZeneca. They said you should only have it after a certain age because it can give you blood clots. And now that there's COVID in Australia, they're saying like, now you should just go get it. So people are confused and they're scared. And it's like, it's just been very mishandled. So of course, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, I'm not getting a vaccine if you literally just told me that it could give me a blood clot. Like, why would I be running to go get it now? But I think what scares me is like when you really start to look into these headlines, like, inflammation for heart disease for young men, which is one of the headlines I just read. You look through the article and then it says, well, there's only 7 people who've actually had inflammation for their heart. And out of those 7 people, 4 recovered. And out of those 4, 1 was hospitalized. And out of that 1, he recovered. You know what I mean? It's like when you start to go deeper and deeper and deeper, it's like the headings are just so inflammatory and they're so clickbaity. It's like but we don't always comb through the real information. And that's what I think just scares everyone. It's like, let's just go with facts and go from there.
Yes.
You know, so I can understand why people are scared.
Yeah. That's the problem, is that you see it from like all sides. Like, it doesn't even matter what sort of, and the problem is too, is it's become politicized. So it's like, you know, this side believes this side believes that. And it's like, it doesn't even matter, because every side has some slant and some bias towards, you know, whatever their point is. So it's like, you have to distill down, like, take out the opinions, take out like the rhetoric and the bullshit. And you have to be like, okay, what is the truth here? You know, it's like, is this the real, like, look at the real numbers, like, look at the real, you know, weigh the real pros and cons. You know, it's like, don't just listen and get swayed because you hear a personality talking about something, or, you know, you're here watching these headlines, you know, and I think people are getting confused because of that, you know?
Absolutely.
It's so crazy.
Well, there's a last thing I want to talk about before I know that you have to run and go to bed. But I saw one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and then one of the best movies I've ever seen within the same night.
You did.
So we wanted to go to a movie, and we went and saw Old by, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it was one of the worst movies I'd ever seen.
Why?
It was really terrible acting. It was very cheesy. The script was very weak and thin. I guess it was supposed to be this tongue-in-cheek, sort of over-the-top horror film, but the problem is it just didn't know which genre it really sat in, so it just became really odd and kind of confusing. And I found it to just be really hokey and just like over the top, and nothing really made sense. And I mean, we everyone was laughing in the cinema. So I know it's not just me. I mean, I haven't walked out of a movie. I mean, maybe for 7 years. It's been a long time since I've done that, you know? So yeah.
So how was his directing? Was it
so
just
what we
like,
did?
Yeah, was it off?
I don't know. It's hard to, like, you know, I don't even want to really talk about it on the show because, you know, I don't want to like tear apart someone's work. But I do feel like a lot of the shots were kind of show off shots, and it was less about the actual movie, and it was kind of trying to be its own character.
Right.
And then the movie that I saw after that, which actually had the same themes of life and death, which is called 9 Days, the director was so beautiful and the shots were so stunning, but they kind of were part of the story. Like, they elevated the story and they made the story more connected, and you cared about the characters because of the shots and the directing and the whole themes that were, like, you know, underneath everything. And
wow. Okay. Cause I've heard mixed reviews about this old movie, you know? And so I was already kind of like, do I really?
The trailer's great. And I think that the idea is great. I think that the concept is pretty stunning. And I wanted to see it just based on that. I was like, what a great concept. You get on an island and you literally live out your life within, you get older with. So yeah.
But speaking of shows and things of that nature, let's talk a little bit about Sex Life, because that is on everybody's radar, that show, you see. Could you relate to her character? Like, could you relate to Billy?
Listen, I think the show Sex Life is kind of a hallmarky soft porn, pretty much. Like, if I could put two together, like Hallmark with soft porn. So I'm not really that invested in the characters, and I'm not that invested in the story, but it's all for shock value. I mean, I don't think we've seen something this risque before with like real actors, and seeing like there's scenes where you actually feel like they're having sex. And I do think I think there's a lot of people out there who've had the same feelings of like, because I get DMs from them that say, you know, when I got married or had kids, everything kind of changed. And so I think it's really speaking to women's fantasies of like, you hit a certain age, 30, 35, 40, and you're like, oh, my sex life is not where I thought it was or I want it to be. And I think a lot of people are fantasizing themselves within this show.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's doing so well. I don't think it's because people are so invested in the storyline or care that much. I think it's just this fantasy that they can get lost in, you know?
And we've all had that bad boy boyfriend, right? It's like you had that guy in your life. It's just, you know, what I really liked too about the way that it was shot was that it was a female director and like a female writer and everything. And the emphasis, like especially in the sex scenes, was her pleasure versus like his pleasure, which is also really refreshing because normally it's all, you know, it's about getting the guy off and like the guy, you know, having a great time. And it was just, this time I think the tables were turned a little bit, and I thought it was a really interesting way to kind of like present that, you know. But I do think you're right. I think a lot of women, especially moms, married moms, you know, that are like more settled now, that maybe had a little wild fun in their day, you know, I think they can relate, you know.
And I think that there's a sadness that comes to losing parts of your sex life after having kids, and I think it takes a lot of work and, you know, to get back to where it was before kids. And I think it's possible. That's through communication and trust and opening up and, you know, talking about your fantasies and talking about what you like in the bedroom now that you've had kids. Maybe things have, you know, changed. Like maybe you've changed and what you like is different. But I find it hard to get through an episode of the show Sex Life. But if I'm in that, like, let's go see some, you know, some sexy stuff that, you know, I'm not going to obviously watch something else, then and there's some things that it really do push the boundaries. And I think that the lead character, she's always been a good actor. She's been in a lot of different TV shows. And I think she's really committed to this. And so good for her. I mean, you do know she's with the guy in the show that she's sleeping with in real life now, and she's not with her husband,
or ex-husband, right? Yeah. I mean, they definitely like her and the guy she's with now, the lead actor, I think his name is Adam Demos. They definitely had a chemistry. I mean, you can tell from watching, you know, I mean, it was like you're saying, like, it almost seemed like they were having sex, like on the show, you know? And so it's like that chemistry. I mean, I don't know if the chemistry came because of like, if it was, or I don't know. I'm obviously it spilled over.
Like,
somehow.
was their marriage on the outs and then he came in, or did she experience some kind of awakening through this show that, you know, did life, you know, imitate art and the other way around, and then all of a sudden she's now with the guy, which is interesting because like what happens when the show finishes, like it will be interesting to see if that continues.
Yeah. I mean, she has been very vocal, and she and the guy, Adam, I think Adam and Sarah, they've both been really, you know, open about their love for one another on social media. Have you seen that? That she's like, the love of my life.
So much, everything to me.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if it stays like past the duration of the show, you know?
Which also makes me wonder, I'm really shocked about the JLo thing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, right?
Just because how public they are. Like, okay.
I mean,
they were so not public, especially Ben Affleck is so against that.
Yeah. And now it's like that. And it was funny too, because if you saw some of the pictures from like this trip that they're on, like on that yacht in the south of France, they had a photographer on the boat shooting photos. So it's like, it seems like it's kind of staged a little bit too, you know, to go out to like the press or like.
Well, I mean, I guess it is her birthday. So you know that. So on your birthday, you always have pictures that are nice. And then you know that when you have nice pictures, you put them on your social because you don't want crappy pictures on your social. You want to look good.
You want to look good.
So I'm not sure if that's, I mean, I think if it was fake, that would be, unless it is fake, and they're just like, see how obsessed you guys are about, some kind of, I don't know. Well, would you even would it even make sense to even do that? Like how,
I mean, they know. It's funny. I've been looking on social media, and a lot of people are posting. They have us wrapped around their little finger. Like they know what they're doing. Like, and she is good. She knows how to, do her image, and she looks amazing. And it's like all the things sort of come together, and they are a gorgeous couple. And people have been like wanting this benefit reunion. But the interesting part is too, A-Rod is on his own yacht right now in the south of France as well, with his friends and his date. So, will the yachts meet?
And you know what? It's also is like, yes, she's got an incredible body, but I think, look, she's never going to say like, yeah, I had a tummy tuck and I had a boob job and I had a this and I had a that. Because what we do is we just go, oh my goodness, she looks so great at 51. I promise you that doesn't just come easy. Like I'm assuming there's some things that have helped her along the way, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's been somebody knows something, and it's like
there's definitely someone's work, someone's doing some good work. And that's the thing is we don't hear about that. No. So you just think, oh, why am I getting older so much faster than everyone else?
Right, exactly. And then it's like, that's when the bad things happen, like those extreme diets and like, over exercising. And because you feel like you have to like try to get to this like really unattainable goal that isn't even really there to begin with because it's been manipulated,
Yeah. I mean, look, if I get Botox, I would hope that I would say something. I'd hope it'd be like, I got Botox, this is what I did, maybe for other people or women or moms to feel like, I did it and I'm happy with my decision, or I'm not happy with my decision. I don't know.
It would be
if
nice
it was less taboo, I think that we would feel less ashamed about it.
It's true. It's true. And to be honest, like I was thinking about it the other day and I'm like, well, it's kind of like getting your hair colored or, like doing all we put on makeup. So we're always sort of like, not necessarily maybe changing, but like we're playing up different things with our appearances. So it's like, is Botox really that bad? I mean, as far as like the taboo, like shamefulness of it, but like it shouldn't be, Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I hear you. So what's the rest of your week like, Roxy Soxy? We've got some, and just to let everyone know, it's been like a little harder getting these shows out because of, time differences and doing this film, but
we made it happen.
We made it happen. We've got some amazing celebrities coming on. We've got some amazing guests coming on too. Yes. Some great experts. So I know this one is short and sweet, but we will be bringing the show back with a vengeance in August.
Yes, so excited. Actually, I am sort of like secretly fangirling over, who I'm talking about that's coming on our show, who like...
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah, right?
There's a very big celebrity, especially from our day. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna freak out when she comes on.
We have
gonna be like, and then just like just literally retell moments from her films and things that she said in her films.
Yes. We'll have to have all the quotes. We'll be like, remember when?
We should even dress up as some celebrities.
Wait, we totally should.
We should totally. And we should, guys, please message us and let us know who you think this is.
Yeah. Let's totally freak her out.
I don't understand what you're saying. Yeah, let's totally freak her out.
Yeah, I'm excited. You guys, we've got good stuff coming up. Just saying.
Awesome. Well, Rox, I hope you have an amazing week.
Oh, thank you, my love. Same to you. I can't wait to hear about like how everything, finishes up and all the good stuff.
3 more days in paradise. Hopefully I'll get some sleep. I'm hoping my body tonight will just be like, ready to go to bed.
Oh my God, yes. Do you get good craft services?
We did get amazing craft services until this week because the caterers went on another job. So now we're just getting boxed lunches.
Oh, you're like,
and you just, sometimes it's just not the best food. But
I hear you. But only 3 more days.
I do miss LA food.
I know. Oh my God. Have you missed your places?
I know. I've been here for 6 weeks. Can you believe that?
I cannot believe it's been that long.
It's gone so fast.
It's gone
almost
really
2 months.
Fast.
so fast. We haven't been able to see my parents yet because all the borders are shut. So I'm really hoping that we can see them soon.
Yeah, I know. And then what about the kids for like school? Like what?
We're gonna have to figure that out. I think we're gonna do homeschooling until we figure out where we're putting them, so that they don't miss anything.
Is the school year the same there, like September to June, or is it year-round school?
It starts in January. So we've got to really follow the American year for now.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I see so many things, girl. So many.
Well, I love you so much, and I hope
boo-boo.
to speak to you way sooner than this. I'll see you on Friday, Roxy Soxy, and thank you guys so much for everything. Please rate, subscribe, and comment. We are Women on Top Official on Instagram,
and Women on Top Podcast on Facebook, and with the Women on Top group on Clubhouse.
Thank you guys for all your support. We love you so much. I am Tammin Sursock,
and I am Roxy Manning.
And we are
Women on